This is Eric Campbell. You can find me at ericcampbell.com.
This is Brian Walker with Image Armor Pretreatment and Inks.
Johnny Shell with SGIA.
Scott Fresner with T-Biz Network International.
And you're listening to Two Regular Guys
Podcast,
hosted by Terry Combs
and Aaron Montgomery.
If you're not listening, you're missing out.
It is Friday, April 8th, 2022. I'm Terry Combs, and you can find me at terrycombs.com. And I surprised Aaron with my hat.
Yeah, he did surprise me with that hat. I don't know why you'd be wearing that hat, Terry, but for those of you on the podcast side, Terry is wearing a Jayhawks, a Kansas City Jayhawks, who are the national champions this year. Congratulations, Terry.
Exactly. Thank you.
Well, I'm Aaron Montgomery, and you can find me over at oursuccessgroup.com. Terry, today, William Boardman from outside of our industry, but really super smart guy and somebody that I enjoyed meeting recently at the Mountaintop Motivation Summit. He's going to join us to talk about the human three foundational truths. And the reason why we think this is really important for our industry here and for folks here, I think he's got some really great insights and stories about kind of focusing on human needs. And that can really help us find and retain employees. And honestly, when we start focusing on human needs, you can take some of this stuff and find customers and retain customers too, Terry. So this is going to be a great conversation. I can't wait.
Absolutely. William and I had a little chat earlier in the week, and so I've been looking forward to this show ever since.
Awesome. Yeah. Once you get to talk to William, you're not only is he really insightful, but he's pretty funny too. So I'm ready for some laughs. All right. Well, let's hit a couple of news items here, Terry, and then we'll get into this. So let's start off that little note that came across here. Gildan has closed the North Carolina facility. Gildan Activewear recently announced it would close its Mabane, North Carolina distribution center, a move that will affect 128 employees. A Gildan spokesperson says production will be shifted to a company-owned distribution center in Charleston, South Carolina. So I think we talked about this when Jay was on too, so I don't want to get too far into it, but that popped into the news feed again. So we're thinking of the folks that are losing their jobs. Hopefully they'll find something new. And speaking of finding something new, Terry, what showed up for you?
Well, let's stay on that subject area of wearables distribution. S&S Activewear has announced the acquisition of TSF Sportswear, which is a wearables distributor in the Southeast U.S. They're going to operate under the S&S Activewear brand from here on out. Through the acquisition, S&S gains greater access to markets in the southern or southeastern U.S., and at the same time, TSF's customers can select from S&S's brand offerings and benefit from more inventory. So that's awesome. Lots of shifting around.
Yeah. You figured after everything that happened, there was going to be some disruption. There was going to be some things changing. There was going to be some opportunities for change. So
exactly.
Hopeful that all of this means positive changes and that maybe we're heading back towards actually people having inventory in stock. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is not the first time we've talked about S&S acquiring a new company as well. So
Yep. So growth there, and like you said there, it means that S&S will be able to better service those folks in the Southeast, and the TSF customers will have access to some additional brands. So
exactly.
Yep. And I just noticed a comment that came in from Tone Dan Campbell. Freaking employees. What a hot topic. Can you guess my stance on this subject? So we'll
I love it, Dan.
I think we're going to have some good stuff for Dan here. So let's check in with a couple more of the regulators here real quick too, Terry. We've got Cindy checked in early because she's got a customer coming in, so she won't be able to catch us live, but she'll be on the replay or the podcast side. So we are going to have fun. I'm sure of it. We always do. Lyndon says, good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. We've got Barb checking in. Good morning, Barb. Chuck, good morning to you, sir. And so we appreciate everybody tuning in and joining us live. We've got Rich checking in as well. And then we talked about Dan already. So Dan, hang tight. We're going to get to it. I promise.
Well, Aaron, it's time for your dad joke today.
It is time for my dad joke. So buckle up, everybody. Here we go. And as usual, I get my inspiration from my 10-year-old. So we're just keeping in that vein. All right. Are you ready?
Ready. Let's hear it.
Okay. What do you call a security guard at the Samsung store?
I don't know, Aaron. What do you call a security guard at the Samsung store?
A guardian of the galaxy.
Okay, that's pretty good.
For those of you that don't have Samsung phones, their flagship phone is called a Galaxy. So, anyhow, okay. The fact that I explained that, I felt like I had to. So, I apologize.
Well, kudos to Lewis. So,
yeah.
All
he
right.
had to explain it to me. So, anyways.
All right, Aaron. Before we dive in, we want to thank everybody for checking out the Two Regular Guys podcast. We are always looking for new guests. If you or anyone you know would like to join us, go to calendly.com/2, the number 2, regular guys, and share your show ideas. And if you're listening to the podcast version of the show, we would appreciate you sharing the Two Regular Guys podcast with your industry friends so they can become regulators too. And we would appreciate you giving us a review on any of the locations where you listen to podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Amazon. We're everywhere. And if you're watching it live right now, please join in with your comments and your questions.
Yes, please do. And appreciate everybody being here and tuning in. But yeah, make sure you get the word out and share. And don't forget to, the podcast version is also something that everybody should go ahead and just subscribe anyhow. Right. So you can always go back. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of golden nuggets from William here today. And, you can easily reference back while you're, on the treadmill, while you're out doing yard work, whatever it is, you can catch it on the podcast side too. And you don't have to see our pretty faces the whole time. All right. And then Terry, before we get to the next little part here, how it always goes, you start in on that segment and then I'm always giggling in the background. That's because I'm reading the comments about the dad jokes. So it's not because you're being funny. So Eric here said, if you have to explain the joke, ... Yes, agreed. And then Todd says, I am marveled by that one. So
wow.
All right. Well, let's hear a quick word about an upcoming workshop. Actually, it's happening this Sunday. We do it every month, but the next one is this Sunday, and we've already got people signed up. So maybe this is something that you want to check out over at our Success Group too. So whenever you're ready, Eric.
Hi, I'm Kylene.
And I'm Aaron from our Success Group.
We understand that feeling of knowing something is holding you back.
Are you watching others succeed and wondering what they have that you don't? There's a secret locked away inside of each of us, yet we never think about fixing it because it has to be something external from ourselves. It is the limiting belief that everyone wants to just push aside and try to hustle and grind harder to get there. But the truth is, those limiting beliefs are keeping you from asking for help or doing the action needed to move your business forward.
The sooner you can identify what's holding you back, the sooner you will start achieving your goals. Head on over to oursuccessgroup.com/unlock and click the turquoise button, Learn the Magic to Unlock Your Potential. We hope you make this investment in yourself and unlock your potential so you can find more meaning and success in your life.
All right. Well, definitely go check that out. Like I said, we've got that coming up Sunday here on April 10th. And so it's a great opportunity to get in, and I know it's a Sunday. We move the days around all the time just to be sure we find something for everybody. So we had people requesting Sundays. So we thought, you know what, let's do it. And
it's the turquoise button. That was
yeah, it is. It is the turquoise button. So easy to find. It's nice and big right there at successgroup.com/unlock. So love to have you join us on Sunday. All right, guys. So Terry, shall we get our guest in here?
Let's bring in William.
Okay. All right. Well, so according to William's bio, he is no one of consequence, yet no one to be trifled with. So anyhow, just kidding. That's a joke. William is a respiratory therapist, a storyteller, a journeyman sheet metal worker, a public speaker. He served in the National Guard, Field Artillery Unit, and graduated from the Academy of Radio Broadcasting. So welcome into the show, William Boardman. William, how are you doing today?
Good.
All right. Excellent. Well,
Get that
so
whole
great to have you.
tropical look going for you there.
I like it. Don't spend much time there, but I like it.
Well, I'm just back last week from Southern California myself, so I should have done the same thing.
Warm there. My wife just got back from San Diego. So
Very good.
yeah,
Very good.
she's enjoying the warmth.
Awesome. Well, hey, let's jump right in, William. So Aaron mentioned the foundational truths. What is the first foundational truth?
The first foundational truth is we all want to be wanted.
Okay. So can you explain that for us?
I think that it's something that we all know, right? Because if you've ever been on the outside, if you've ever been ignored, you know that you want to be wanted. It's like, how come if you've ever been, young single male, I spent some time in that category. And I was like, man, I want to be wanted. I want somebody to want me. And so that's important. And we'll draw into that because there's a difference between being needed and being wanted.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Yeah, that'll be good to understand, because I think a lot of that can also then help us understand how our interactions with others, employees, customers, etc., will, by having that distinction, really kind of makes a difference. Is that correct?
It does make a big difference, but it's more of a long-term difference. I mean, you can use all kinds of tools to motivate someone.
Sure.
But they say that loyalty to someone goes a long way for getting them to go the extra mile for you.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about then what is the second foundational truth.
The second foundational truth is we all want to know that our contribution is valued.
Okay.
That's important because sometimes we don't get the thank yous. Somebody might go years without being appreciated for what they've contributed.
Yeah.
And so that's an important thing. People want to know they're not just there. They want to know they're not just a cog.
Gotcha.
Doing cog work. They want to know that what they're doing is important, because if you're not doing important work, you disengage. You disengage from the work.
We could do an entire show on that subject, and I'm going to reference something, Aaron, that I referenced probably a month or so ago. Is on a flight sitting across the aisle from two pilots, and one pilot said to the other pilot, "Just once, I'd like to hear him say nice landing."
Oh yeah,
and that I mean, it's on every level. People want to be appreciated for what they contribute. So that's excellent. So let's move forward then. What is the third foundational truth, William?
We all want to be inspired.
Interesting.
That's important because if you are working with someone else, hopefully something that you're doing is inspiring to someone. If you're not doing something well, or your attitude could be towards something. There's a lot of different things that are inspiring, but we all want to be inspired. We all want someone to take notice of us and say, I noticed that you have potential. And also along with that goes raising our sights and helping us to see higher goals.
Nice.
And those are ways that we can inspire people and that we have been inspired.
Yeah.
And so it's important to remember that, there are inspirational things that have touched us. There are people who have looked at us and seen the potential in us, and gone ahead and tried to help us to achieve that potential, even if it's not in the same area of interest that they have.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's That's really important. I love that. All right. Well, we're going to back up real quick to the second one because Ramona had one of the regulators here had a comment that I thought was worthy of sharing here. Ramona says, back 100 years ago when I worked in an office cubicle, we referred to ourselves as typing monkeys. It was a sad place, right? So they were not valued. They didn't feel valued. So interesting. Well, okay, William. So we've got the three truths, and so we understand that, and you've given us a really good foundation as to why those things are important. But let's take it a step further. Why is that important for us as business owners? Why is that important for people that are looking to find or retain employees and like I said, maybe even customer relationships? But how do we use this information in terms of that particular kind of thing? How do we find employees?
That's a good question. You're working in an area where a lot of the work that you're doing is creative. And so that kind of clues you in to who you're looking for, because you're not just looking for anybody. If you just want anybody, then you don't really complain. It's like, yeah, I told them what to do, and there's the work, go get them.
Yeah.
And that's it. But you're going to want, and most of your audience are smaller shops.
Yeah.
And so you don't really become a cog in a smaller shop. You are someone. You're not just a number. You have a name, and people know you and they call you by name. And that's a great start right off the bat, because that's one of the things that helps us know that we're wanted is people actually use our name. So let me just look at what I wrote down a few notes here. As far as finding employees, you want to build a relationship with someone. And so that's kind of how you're picking this thing out. You're looking for someone, and you kind of know the person that you want for the job. Yeah, anybody could do it. Yes, I would love to have somebody with a PhD in psychology come over here and help me in my shop. But they're probably going to want a lot of money in order to do that. So we need to find someone who's more aligned with entrepreneurial type work, and somebody who's creative, because being creative, they get a chance to explore a little bit. And so those are some of the things you're probably going to want to look for and engage them in some way. Look at what someone might have to offer and say, how can I help them and help myself as well?
Yeah.
If you're just looking at a name on a resume, that's not going to work so well. As a matter of fact, Bob Bodine wrote a book called The Power of Who. And in there, he talked about the importance of referrals and references. So if you're looking for someone, talk to the people that you know and see if they know somebody who fits the demographics and the interests that you're looking for.
Yeah, that's great.
And that's a great way to find people, rather than just putting out a sign and hoping someone will stop by who's the right fit. And that's another thing. You've probably already got a team, whether it's just 2 of you or whether there's 10 of you, you've probably got a team. So if you're looking for an employee, that's going to be kind of tough, because now everybody's got to adjust to the peculiarities of the person who's coming in.
Yeah.
So you might want to look for a fit in the team.
Yeah.
Someone who works well with others.
That's awesome.
Or maybe it's somebody who's a little bit more, we're having a party back there all the time. We need somebody who's a little bit more nose to the grindstone. But you're looking for someone who's got something that will add to the team.
Yeah.
So consider.
Yeah, I think also, and that's an excellent point, because you spend probably more time with your coworkers than you do with sometimes with your own family. So it's got to be a situation where you're not dreading going to work because of that one employee, that one person that is the black cloud over your shop. And the more employees you have, the more chance you have of that happening.
Yeah. Monday morning, I'm going in and I'm going to work with a team of Eeyores. That's going to be great. You want to have a Tigger in there, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Somebody who bounces
Stop
around,
bouncing.
having a little bit of fun, you
Yeah.
know. Somebody who brings energy, because you probably want some energy in there.
Yeah.
So if you're spending a lot of money on energy drinks, think about bringing in somebody in who's got some energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, William, when you and I talked earlier in the week too, you made a point of saying that, you know, when you're working with other people, you want to have a little bit of fun. And I remember I used to do some printing for Disney down in Orlando, and every time I would call and talk to the buyers or anybody there, you'd always hear people chit-chatting, or you always hear people kind of laughing in the background. I thought, man, what a great working environment they must have. And you know, makes you want to go to work when you're in a positive environment like that.
Yes. And if you're looking to bring in a new employee, that means you're kind of in charge. And so if you're in charge, you know, what are some things you want to bring into the business? Do you want it to do you want people to dread coming into work? They wake up in the morning and they're just like, oh, and drag themselves in, and, you know, and just kind of not be excited about being there because it's just not aligned with the things that they enjoy doing? Or do you want to have people that wake up and say, man, I can't wait to go to work today. I work with some of the neatest people and they treat me well.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and sometimes you have to part ways with those folks as well. And here's something that should be an inspiration to people out there. A crappy attitude is not a protected class in society. You don't have to keep those people.
It's unfortunate, but I'm hoping that we can make a difference in their life and kind of reignite the fire that they have, rather than just turn them loose and put them out there. I think that, I mean, obviously you can't just keep somebody who's not helping.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's kind of like, you know, if there's something I could do to inspire them, if there's something toxic at the workplace that I need to get rid of so that they can feel like, you know, they're really making it. And maybe that's it. Maybe we need to notice that they are making a contribution. You'd be surprised how fast that can help turn somebody's attitude around when they get acknowledged for the contributions that they've made.
Yeah. You know, that's a tremendous point, and I hope people are making note of this, because so often owners and managers focus themselves on the low end of the staff, where you're focused on the troublesome people, when the person over here who shows up to work every day on time, always raises their hand for overtime, is always helping out. Sometimes you forget to recognize the people who are doing it right.
Yes, and they can turn sour if they see that you're treating someone else differently.
Yeah.
And you know, it's kind of like the boss's kid, right? The boss's kid comes in, you know, 45 minutes late. He leaves 30 minutes early, doesn't do a lot, and, you know, just kind of makes it difficult for everybody else. If that's the case, you know, then maybe take a hard look at what you've got there as far as bringing your kids up. Because, you know, if you're a small shop, very good chance that you're either bringing up your kids or brought up your kids, teaching them how to do this, or utilizing their labor to help make this go.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. And as a matter of fact, as long as they're, you know, hard workers and responsible, that's the kind of person you want to raise as a parent, you know, someone who can become the manager and make sure you're there early and see that all of the little dots are being made and T's crossed, whatever needs to happen.
Sure.
They're doing a good job because you're making them responsible for the job, for the business.
Yeah.
And so the way that you treat others. So if somebody keeps coming in late and they don't get in trouble and you're there always 5-10 minutes early, that starts to affect my morale.
Exactly. Well, I know Aaron came from a family business early on, and I will always remember I was probably 15, and my dad had me come and do some kind of work at the department store that he managed, and on the drive there, he said, "Okay, here's the deal: you have to work harder than everybody there." Because you're the manager's son, so you have to go in there and work hard every minute of the day. And I never forgot that. And at the same time, I worked at a company once where I had to fire the owner's son for exactly the reason you said. Always coming in late, always stopping people from doing their work to tell a great story. And I had to go into the owner's office and say, "Hey, I had to let your son go today. I hope that's okay." And he said, "Hey, if he's not doing the job, he's not doing the job."
Oh,
Nice. Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, William. So I want to. You kind of alluded early on that from the first foundational truth about the difference between being needed and wanted. Right? Is that correct? Can we go back and dig into that? I've been kind of sitting there going, I can't wait to know more about this. I was being patient, but I'm ready.
So, what is being needed? Being needed is when you are a benefit to someone else and it has a deadline. Being wanted is just being yourself. It's because you're you. It's not because you can do something for me. It's not transactional. It's because you're you. I mean, that's probably the true definition of a friend, right?
Yeah.
It's somebody who can't necessarily help you, but you like them just the same.
Yeah.
And so that's an important thing, because if it's always transactional, then it comes down to that phrase, "What have you done for me lately?" And that also goes into a larger scheme of the entire workforce, and I'm talking nation and worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
Over the years, we have been going on a steep incline as far as productivity, but not on pay. And so pay is not commensurate with the increased productivity that's been happening. And people want the productivity. That's the what have you done for me lately?
Yeah.
But I think that and eventually, where does that lead? I mean, eventually we're going to have enough machines and artificial intelligence to be able to do most jobs everywhere.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do then? What are you going to do when there are more people out of jobs because machines do it more effectively?
Yeah.
They're efficient. They don't stop to chat. They've removed the human element for all intents and purposes. And so
everybody needs to learn how to work on machines.
Well, that's one aspect, but I think that taking a step back and looking at things, how are you treating your employees? Are you treating them like they are wanted? Are you treating your customers like they are wanted, rather than you're just a number? Oh, you didn't buy? Oh, okay, bye. You might want to reconnect with them. Let them know some of the new things that you have coming up, some new ideas, or maybe if you're working with shirts, what type of fabrics that you've got or colors that are coming up, something that if it will help them, talk to them.
Yeah.
It's like, you own a business and your team all wears, these shirts that you have me custom design for you.
Yep.
And it's like, you know what? Those were good t-shirts, but this new material that I have is actually going to last longer. And it's that air wicking type material that makes people feel comfortable. And so let me just introduce you to it and you tell me what you think about that. And anytime that you see some things at a trade show that might benefit your customers, keep them in mind and then keep them in the loop.
Yeah.
And that helps them, because that lets them know that they matter to you. So it's like, you develop that relationship, and somebody else comes along with something. Yeah, we can do it quicker and better. And they don't really care. They're just trying to get a sale.
Yeah.
Well, that's it's like, you know what? We're going to just stay with what we've got, because what we've got works, and we like the people that we work with.
Yeah.
And so again, that's kind of a loyalty thing that develops from a relationship.
Yeah.
And so,
there's always an assumption of companies that think, well, the other guys, they're all doing it right. The bigger companies are all doing it right. That's not the case. There's huge opportunity here for people who grasp onto these concepts and in their own businesses. I literally had somebody say to me this year, he said, I called XYZ company for some support. And he goes, Terry, you're not going to believe what they said to me. Hey, you haven't bought anything from us lately. So they basically weren't going to help him because he hadn't purchased anything lately. And of course, his response to me was, I will never, ever buy anything from them again. So there's these things all make sense. They, and you look at it and you go, well, of course we have to do these things. Most people don't. So grasp the opportunity.
right. Another thing in regards to the big efficient businesses versus the smaller ones is that the smaller ones can serve the smaller groups. That the big ones are like, that order's not big enough for me to care about. And so that there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity in there. And then another aspect is customization. You know what? Those guys, they live far away. And what is it that they're not providing? Is it that you can deliver because they live within 30 miles of you? Is there some other aspect where you can customize the business to them? So it's like, you know what they like? I'll iron these shirts. I'll do something to show that I care.
Exactly.
There's a bunch of things. Maybe it's something that you're doing. Trying to think. There was a book about sticking. It had duct tape on it. Sorry, it skipped my mind.
Maybe one of the regulators will come up with it.
But that's the point, is having something that stands out.
Right.
So maybe you put something that's scented in with the shirt, so that when they come out, it's not just a newly manufactured smell, but a pleasant smell.
Yeah.
Not overpowering, but something that's kind of pleasant. They'll be like, you know what? I really like opening these boxes.
Huh. Terry, that makes me think of Johnny Cupcake, who started this whole he sells t-shirts, but he does it as if he's a baker. And so people come into his place and there's the vanilla scent and they're packed in baker's boxes and things like that. And, he's made a massive business out of that, and he sells out of all of his stuff. Like as soon as he releases it, people have his logo tattooed on their body. Like I said, he did something different. He told his customers that he cared about them, and that their input mattered. And, it's pretty cool. Pretty good idea.
Yeah. Limited edition shirts are only available this week. And it's he has created an incredible concept out there.
Yeah. But it just takes that, like you just talked about there, William, that little, let's just do something different. Let's show our customers that we actually want them, not that we just need them. And I think that can be so wide ranging, right? Because then you talk about employees, it's the same type of things. It's when you talked about productivity versus pay and all that other stuff, it doesn't necessarily have to be about the pay, but it has to be about the amount of recognition that they're getting for being wanted versus being needed. Does that sound about right?
It does. There is something I should probably say, just because as an employee, I can't remember what it was, but something brought it to my attention, and I wrote about it. There was actually Oh my goodness. You know, when you get a little bit gray, you don't remember things quite as well. Norman Rockwell. There was a Norman Rockwell painting, and it shows this lady, and she's got this skinny bird sitting on the scale, and the butcher's looking up there at the big dial there, and she's looking up there, and she's pushing up on the bottom of the pan holding the chicken, and he's got his finger on the other side pushing down while they both look up there at the scale. And that's one of the truths that you have to look at is scale tipping. If you take something away from the employees, and I'm just saying this in regards to where I used to work, if you take something away, they will find a way of tipping the scale so that they're not all at a loss. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so it's important to look at what the owners are doing. And it's like, you don't want them to tip the scale without, you want to pay attention to what's going on. You don't want them taking home reams of copy paper or something like that, thinking that they're going to even the score. But as you're working with people, if there's something that has to change, you need to kind of look at that and say that, that's a change. How can I compensate them so that they're still getting as good or better than what they had before?
Yep.
And that's an important thing, because people feel like you value them rather than, it doesn't matter. I can't afford this, so you don't get it, and there's no compensation for it.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, and you also have to put yourself in the shoes of that employee, because you as an entrepreneur, you have different ways of inspiring yourself, and you can't think of all of your employees as having that entrepreneurial spirit, because chances are they would already be an entrepreneur if they had that mindset. So sometimes you have to get into their shoes, what inspires, what motivates them. And I do have an example, because Aaron, I always have examples. When I surveyed the employees, because the owner of a company I worked with one time was talking about how giving free life insurance to all the employees was such a great benefit to the employees. And I said, our average employee is about 25 years old. They don't care. And he goes, oh, no, it's super important, super important. So, well, let me just survey the employees. And I didn't say what benefits they were getting. I just said, tell me what benefits the company offers you, and don't share your answers. And you know what one of the top benefits was? When I do a really great job, sometimes my boss gives me movie tickets for me and my spouse. That was one of the top benefits offered by the company. And by the way, the free life insurance did not make anybody's list. And that were 75 production floor employees. Not one of them mentioned free life insurance.
Yeah.
But to that business owner, he's thinking in a different way, a different direction. So sometimes you got to get your feet out there on the production floor and have conversations and see what motivates and inspires the people who are coming to work for you every day.
Yeah.
Yep. Getting to know them. And that's easier. That's easier with the smaller shops. If you've got under 100 employees, it's easier to get to know them a little bit and then kind of watch. It's funny you mentioned movie tickets. My wife works at a hospital, and sometimes they have to work overtime and stuff like that. And the supervisor will give them a pair of tickets to the movie, free movie passes. And we really, really enjoyed that. So yeah. I think that's, and it's not that expensive per se. So that's a great thing. But, like the 5 love languages, some people aren't about receiving gifts. Some of them are about receiving an appreciation. They just need to hear you say it.
Yeah.
I appreciate your work.
Yeah. That's a great point. That's a great point. You talked about the 5 love languages, as an employer, understanding that I think is a really good thing to have. William, you also talked about being valued a couple of times. I heard you say in there. And so I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that second foundational truth a little bit more. I got an opportunity to check out one of the presentations you did for the Rotary, and you had a really great story about being valued in there. And so maybe you can share that story with us if you don't mind. But and then we've got some regulator comments I want to get to after that. So you think you can give us a little bit more about the being valued and what that kind of looks like? Maybe, like I said, even with a good story. I know you've got one.
Well, it's actually a story that I heard when I was a kid, and I don't remember who told the story, but it was about a logging camp, and the owner of the logging camp had a son, Jim, and he was learning all the ropes in the business. Yep. And he was prone to making mistakes sometimes, but there was another worker, Franz, and he liked to needle the boss's boy. And so every time that the boy Jim would brag about how fast he could take the limbs off of a tree, then Franz would needle him and say, like, yeah, maybe if you had, all day long to do it. Or he might say, yeah, you probably broke him off, but you certainly didn't get him, close enough to the trunk for it to actually be useful. And he would always get Jim's goat. But I mean, he was an old logger, experienced, and he knew things. And Jim was just learning, but Jim just hated it. Yeah. And then one day it became the time for the owner to transfer the business to his son, Jim. And he's like, man, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to fire Franz. But this was back in the day when they had horses that would take the logs out. And so his first day, he's headed over there, and he has to cross several hills to get to him. As he's trudging through the snow to get over so that he can fire Franz, and he sees him, and he's over there. The horses had just pulled a log off. The guys were going to be waiting for the horses to come back, so they were standing by a fire, warming themselves up. And Franz had a shovel in his hands, and he had it over the fire. And the rest of the guys are just, joking and talking. And Franz is stooped over there, and he's shaking that shovel, and steam starts coming off of it. And Jim stopped, and he had to look, and he's like, what in the world is going on over there? And he kept walking. He got closer, and he realized that he was drying sand. They used sand when there was snow and ice on the ground in order to get friction so that the logs didn't slip sideways or the horses wouldn't lose their traction. And so he was drying out the sand so that it would be more helpful. So he saw him doing that, and he had to stop and think for just a minute there. He's like, man, everybody else is just, talking, and this man actually cares, because it wasn't uncommon for a log to slip, even if they had sand. And a big, huge 2-ton log slipping sideways and hitting you in the side would break your ribs and maybe your arm and leg too. Yeah. And so he actually had seen accidents, and he knew the value of what Franz was doing. And he had to rethink everything that he thought he knew about Franz. He finished walking over there, and he says, hey, Franz. And Franz didn't even move. He knew that he was the new boss. He knew that he'd been needling him, and that he was, really, in a bad situation at the time. He just kept doing what he's doing. He says, I hear you, boy. And Jim says, you know why I'm here? And Franz says, he turns at that point and looks at Jim, and he says, I reckon you're here to fire me. And Jim looked at him, and he says, Franz, after seeing you dry out that sand that's probably going to save somebody's life, he says, I couldn't fire you even if I wanted to. He says, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for what you do, because you make a difference here. And Franz, his eyes just started watering, because never in his life had he been told that his work was appreciated. And that's why we all want to know that our work is valued. So that's what we should do. We should notice what people are doing and then say, what you're doing has this effect. If you're paying attention and you can see what their contribution is and the effect it has, tell them that. That shows that you value their work.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a powerful story. and to me that was like light bulb moment. Like, yep, valued. And then you just talked about the fact that, you know, you've got to pay attention. And I think that can be a challenge, especially for a small business owner when they're wearing lots of hats and lots of things going on. You know, your job though really is to pay attention to what's going on with your employees, catch them doing, instead of always looking out for them to do something wrong, catch them doing something good and be very clear about what it is that they're doing and show them that they're valued. And then understanding what's going on in their world. So you can, you know, be there to support them and let them know that they're wanted, not just needed. So.
And I think as the business owners, you can see what someone's doing that might be causing something to take more time, or it takes more labor than it should.
Yeah.
But I mean, as you kind of reflect on what happened that day, you can also notice what someone did that made things go smoothly, and that somebody was always on top of something, or somebody headed off an obstacle before it got too bad.
Yeah.
You know, there's other things that you can notice as well as you reflect on the day. And so it may not be in the moment that they're doing it, but that doesn't mean that you didn't notice or appreciate it later. And then you can bring that to their attention and say, you know, what you did, that's something that other people aren't doing. I want you to show them how you're doing it so that they can do that. I think that's going to make a big difference in how fast we can get things out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Well,
really
nobody knows more about how to be efficient at what they do than the people actually doing it every day. So, you know,
yeah. Well, and the owner probably has appreciation because he most likely started in a small shop or a one-man shop. And so seeing that other people have caught on and understand it, and sometimes find something that you didn't even use that would have been beneficial. You know, you see things and you're like, yes, that's helpful. That's useful. I like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Hey, Terry, let's go back and catch. So William, we're going to ask you to just do your best. And if Terry and I have some insight, we're happy to share too. Dan had a question I thought was worth sharing here as we talk about employees a little bit. And this was back a little ways, Eric. He said, we have heard it said that the younger generation has a total new way of looking at work and value of time. I've seen firsthand that the younger ones just cannot show up, no phone call, no text, and be gone for a day or four. And then they pop back in for work one day out of the blue. I've heard a lot more of the mental health issues as reasons. It seems more like excuses, good ones, that can be used against you as protection for them. Any thoughts on that? So, William, I'll let you take the first crack at that one.
Well, I think that for the most part, they've just kind of lived a sheltered life.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you know, it's tough, but I need you to learn some responsibility, and maybe not use the word responsibility. Man, that's like getting hit in the head with a baseball bat. But you'll want to say, you know, that the more that you're able to do, and you know, the more the more, I don't even know how to say it without using the word responsible, but as you continue to show yourself to become a master at some of these tasks, you know, either the pay is going to become commensurate to that, or there's going to be some sort of a benefit for you. So as you learn these things, you're going to receive something in return.
Yeah.
And so how do you get them to even come and show up for, when you put out a sign, say, we're hiring? And it's like that can be tough.
Yeah.
You need to try to find something that will interest them. Now, maybe they'll come in the door, and then it's like, if they're an artistic type of a person and this kind of really has a good vibe for them, then, help them out. But maybe this isn't their end goal. Maybe they've got another goal. Maybe you can help them along towards that goal.
Yeah.
Maybe you're teaching someone who's going to become your competitor. That might be a good thing, because, if you have a certain niche and he's more crazy about doing goth style stuff, that might not be a bad thing. He might be more interested in doing stuff that you're completely not interested in doing. But certainly encouraging people who have talent and helping them along their way, they're going to remember you. And so you might be setting them up for success. And maybe that's something. Benjamin Franklin did that, right? With the printing press. He learned everything, and then he brought somebody in and taught him everything. And then he went to another town and he set up somebody else doing the same thing, and he just on. And then he's just receiving basically, royalties from these guys. They're paying him a monthly amount for setting up the shop and whatnot. And all he has to do is set up several of those, and the money's just rolling in.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying everybody can do that. I'm just saying that's one concept that shows that, maybe you can set some other people up. Maybe set them up underneath you. Look, if you'll do this work, and I can set somebody else to do this other type of work, and then, I can just take a step up the pyramid and have more people doing stuff below me if you've got enough work.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's a really great way to look at all that. You talk about that they need to learn some responsibility. Like I said, that's definitely a challenge too, but because they've never had to, right? They've never been in that place. They've been so overly protected that they haven't had to do that. But I think that they deep down really want to. And so if you can get back to that second truth of being valued, helping them understand that when they show up and they're here and they're doing the work, it's very valued. And so we're counting on you, you're wanted here. And so, but when you're not, then that causes us to go, hey, we don't know if we can count on this. So this work is valued, the stuff that you're going to be doing for us. And, but we need you to be here to be able to do that. And so how do we find that? How are you inspired? I mean, I really think that you can take these three truths and just kind of use that for the whole parts and pieces of all this, as far as I can tell. So Terry, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, and I think, and I agree, but I think also you have to define what the job is. I mean, there's a lot of times there's an assumption when I hire somebody, they should know they need to work on time. They should know this, they should know that. Well, you know what? In today's society, they don't necessarily know that. So you have to say, here is the definition of being successful in this position that you're about to accept. And that is, we expect you to work on time. We expect you to call if there's a reason you can't be here. We expect this, we expect that, and define the job. Because, I took a position at a company in Maryland once, and the very first thing that was said to me by the owner was, hey, you need to fire this person over here. Well, why is that? Well, they're not doing a good job. And I said, did you explain to them that they weren't doing a good job? Did you tell them what a good job looks like? Well, no, but they're just not doing it. I said, well, let's take a different tack. Let me have a conversation with this gentleman and explain to him what's expected of him. And guess what? He lived up to that expectation, because you have to tell people what you want to see them achieve. What the expectation is before you can expect them to reach it. One person over here thinks, hey, I can print 10 shirts an hour. I'm doing an awesome job. This person over here says, I can print 100 shirts an hour. I'm afraid I'm going to get fired tomorrow. You have to define what a good job is.
Yeah. William, what are the thoughts you have on that?
Well, there was something that Jordan Peterson had said and this has to do with people who are like disagreeable, and unfortunately, I sometimes find myself in that camp. And that's just ask them, what is it that you want? What is it that you want in life? What is it that you want? I mean, and then if it's just like, oh, I just want a new skateboard, give me a little bit more. What do you really want in life? And let them define that, because then they have something that they have just stated, a goal that they're trying to achieve, and you can from time to time point out things that will help them get there. Like, you come in here and you put in the work and the hours, and it's not long before you can do this. Now, what about time off? If they need some time off, well, can you work with them? Can you work with them on that? But, if you know what they really want, that helps you to understand why they want time off. Yeah. And maybe it is important.
Yeah, agreed.
As a side note to someone who was born and raised in California, William, a new skateboard is a real thing to all the other listeners out there.
Nice. Yeah. So there's some great comments here in the comments section. Natasha's had a ton of great stuff. We won't be able to get to all of it, but she says there's also something to be said about meeting people where they are. I think that's a really good point. And then Eric shared intrinsic motivation comes from a sense of autonomy, a path to mastery, and connection to a larger purpose. It requires consistent feedback, but you have to align with more the work transaction to create self-motivation. So that's all excellent stuff too. One other quick thing I wanted to share. I'm actually in the middle of reading. I'm a Audibles guy, so I'm listening to a book. It's called Permission to Screw Up. And it's about a young lady who started a cleaning business when she was in college down in Florida, and her entire crew is college students. And so she's all the CEOs out there think that she's like the millennial whisperer, basically. And she has a lot of really great points. A lot of the stuff that William was just talking about, where it is about, sharing with them that they're valued and helping them understand that, but then giving them what she's talking about, giving them the room to screw up. And she had a intern that had a $40,000 payroll mistake. And instead of fixing it for her, she gave her the space to allow her to take on the responsibility of fixing that mistake. And so anyhow, great book. William, any other thoughts? I know we talked about the first and second one. We all want to be inspired. Anything that you can share with us there before we let you go? We're going to go into bonus time for sure, so that's okay.
Well, noticing their potential, and that is something. If you see that they've got a knack, especially if it's like artistic or something like that, and you can steer them, and maybe you're steering them right out the door because they have a talent and they need to go somewhere in order to feed that talent that they have. Yeah. And so, but notice the potential that they have in different areas and point that out. That also helps them to pay more attention to that as well. You've really got a knack for numbers. Why don't you help me when it's time for us to take a account of what we've done at the end of each week?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, however you can involve them and notice their potential, but then also, like I said, setting their sights a little bit higher in some of their goals. If they say, I'm just trying to do this, and you might know something. It's like, well, if you try a little bit harder, you could actually probably be able to do this.
Yeah.
And it's doable, as a matter of fact. And this is like the power of who again. It's like, I know some people that I can put you in touch with. And that's another thing that you have, and probably ought to keep that in mind, as far as something that you have to offer is your connections. And so when people come in, it's not just what you know, but it's also people that that have the ability to help. So that's a possibility as far as looking at your employees or your customers.
Yeah.
in ways that you
Well,
can.
and coming full circle, when you talked earlier about finding employees by referral, that person you've helped achieve their goal, they're going to say nothing but great things about you and your company as well, and that might be opening a stream of new employees that you might be able to hire that have the same values as that employee that you help to achieve their goals. So.
Right. And then that idea of the higher purpose, it's like, well, what kind of values do you have in your company that other people might want to associate with? I mean, like Patagonia got a big name because of I think it was environmental concerns that they helped address, and so people would get on board for that. But what about you? You have your company. I mean, you might have some personal ones, and the company might have some different goals. It's like, you know what? We help fight child hunger in our community. If you have something like that, a lot of people can get on board with helping you. And maybe you just don't have a lot of money you can put that direction. But maybe if you say, okay, you know, for every 100 orders that we get out, we'll put so much money towards this this cause.
Yeah.
And it might not be big at first, but if other people buy in and then you start getting more business, then hopefully that means you're making more money and you have more to give towards a cause.
Yeah.
But just giving money isn't the only thing you can do for a cause. You can lend your time. You can ask your employees, you know, this is the cause that our company supports. Can you come and donate time reading with children, or spending some time talking to seniors in an assisted living, or whatever your cause happens to be? You know, just help everybody. If it's a good cause and people buy into it, it's like, you know, this is worth letting other people know about as well, so that they can support us as we support this cause.
Oh, that's wonderful. Wow. William, great stuff. Terry, did we miss anything?
I think we covered it all, and in almost our time.
This was great, William. So I want to ask you, where can people find you and you know, connect with you or anything like that? This has been a great discussion. I know that you're not inside of our industry, but I know you're doing a lot of wonderful, amazing things, helping out people. So is there somewhere people can connect with you?
You can connect with me on LinkedIn. It's William Boardman, and it says the community speaker. That's me.
Okay.
If you want to, other than that, you can connect with me on my email, and that works too. My website's down. My my web designer passed away of cancer, and he was a dear friend of mine.
Oh my gosh.
So as I transfer over to someone else, it's getting all redesigned, and it's not up right now.
Okay.
So,
Well, connect with you on LinkedIn, or they've got your email address there too. William, again, thank you so much for your time. This has been incredible. What a great, just the whole piece, right? I mean, I think we can use this in so many areas, but it really did stand out for as far as employees and then customers and things like that. So thanks again, William. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks,
right.
William. Awesome.
Yeah. Terry.
Fantastic, Aaron. That was
Yeah.
I knew after talking to William earlier in the week that this was going to be a really good show. And so
Yeah.
it was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. I had just a crazy week, and I'm like, shoot, we need to talk to William, and you were able to do that. And then I was kind of like waiting. I was in the middle of a call, and I saw the message that you sent that like, yeah, this is going to be a great show. I was like, yes, I knew it when I met him the first time. So good. All right, Terry. Well, let's we've got 5 things to do here still. So let's get into that. Would you do the honors of reading this for Crystal?
Absolutely.
All right.
Eric,
so we are ready.
You're
Eric.
on. All right. We have 5 things contributed by Crystal Wren, and they are 5 reasons to keep your workplace tidy, and in quotes, from someone who works with slobs. So, number 1, first impressions never have a second chance. And she says a neat and orderly workplace instills greater confidence in potential customers and conveys professionalism and attention to detail. Couldn't agree with that more. Number 2, increase productivity of employees. If you have to walk across the building for a piece of tape or spend time looking for things that weren't put back in the right place, you are wasting valuable time and energy with no benefit. Every workstation should have the materials needed on hand. I feel like I wrote this myself. Number 3, reduce stress and foster an environment for happier employees. Clean and decluttered spaces tend to feel more relaxing and inspire a feel-good feeling. Number 4, minimize hazards and safeguard employee health. In the event of an emergency, having obstacles in the hallway can slow down or even prevent employees from leaving the building. Proper air ventilation and cleanliness also help reduce sickness and lost work days. And last, number 5, save money and keep things running smoothly. Untidy environments are distracting, and distractions in the workplace can eat up valuable man hours. Time is money. Don't let those little tasks that, like finding a piece of paper, hold you or others back from actual productivity. So, Crystal, those are all awesome, and thank you so much for contributing that. We have a spot on the Two Regular Guys website where you can go in and contribute 5 things, just the way Crystal did, and we would love to hear input from the regulators out there.
Yeah, wonderful. And Eric's got it up on the screen, but for the podcast listeners, it's tworegularguys.com/5 things. That's the number 5 and the number 2, by the way. 5 things. And so, yeah, you can go there and, Crystal used the form and input that stuff, and it shot right over to us. So, Crystal, great job. If you want to actually record your own voice doing it, we can play that. If you want to send us a video, so just go to that page. All that stuff's right there. I promised that the first person to do it would get a pair of the Two Regular Guys socks. So these are going in the. Oh, sorry, we'll put those back up. Thank you.
Those are new, right? These are new.
These are new. I'm wearing a pair too. I don't think I can get my leg up there. I played volleyball last night, so sorry, we're not doing that. But so yes, on the way, Crystal. Thank you so much for doing that. And I may have some other stuff lying around here to entice people to get those in. So we'll see. I'm not making any more promises, but you never know, right? So give it a try.
Awesome.
All right, Terry. Well, what's coming up on your schedule here?
Okay, well, DAX show is coming up soon in Chicagoland, Tinley Park, April 22nd at 10:20. I'm going to be doing specialty inks and how to use them properly, followed at 12:30 by why is getting started in DTG printing so confusing. My complete screen printing business course at Atlas Screen Supply in Chicago will be May 21st and 22nd. My class here at Workhorse Products in Phoenix has moved from the end of May to June 11th and 12th. And you can find all of my class dates coming up for 2022 at my website, terrycombs.com. How about you, Aaron?
Yeah, the main thing I wanted to share is the Unlock Your Potential workshop that's coming up here at the on Sunday. Earlier, Jerry had a comment that I didn't get a chance to reply to. He's asked if there's still room. There is still room. So oursuccessgroup.com/unlock. Join us for that this Sunday. Once you're there, if the Sunday doesn't work, like I said, we keep changing the times and days and we do it once a month. So there's bound to be a time or day that works for you. So just check that out. We kind of keep the next 5 months populated to keep that moving forward. So yeah, we'd love to have you join us there. And then coming up in now about 20 minutes, we've got the half with Eric Campbell and myself. It's a wide open 30 minutes of Q&A. We don't have any scripts or outlines or anything like that. We're just answering listeners' questions, interacting and engaging with those live listeners. So, and the best part about it, and sometimes a little fun's even had because of this, it's the one time in Eric and I's life that 30 minutes is actually 30 minutes. There's never bonus time, no exceptions.
Like right now.
Like right now, yeah. We actually cut it off at 30 minutes, even if we're in the middle of a conversation. And occasionally that may be even a little scripted, but we always get
here's the secret of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Last week, the question came in from Todd that who are the speakers to avoid? Who are the people that are just predatory salesmen, so to speak? I can't remember exactly how the question went, but it was about like that. And so right as Eric started in, obviously he wasn't going to say anything, but all right. I don't mean to be giving away our secrets, but you can tune in over at liveosg.com or on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Our Success Group Pro. While you're at either of those places, Live OSG gets you to YouTube, or when you're on Facebook, if you search Eric, E-R-I-C-H, Campbell, you will be able to tune in from those locations as well. So just make sure that you're liking and subscribing and following at all 4 of those locations. And then you'll hopefully get some notifications when that happens now in 19 minutes. So that's what I've got coming up here, Terry. Let's see what Eric's got on the board here. 2:30 Mountain Time today, which would be 3:30 Center of the Universe time for all of those that live in the Central Time Zone.
1:30 Mountain Standard Time.
Oh, you're in Mountain Standard Time. Yeah. See,
I
stopped trying to keep track. So at 2:30 Mountain Time, the Take Up, it's episode 107, Getting Design Information and Technique Analysis Part 2, which, if you tuned in last week, part 1 was almost 2 hours, I believe, Eric. So there's going to be lots of great information. This guy is so amazingly giving and just gives of all this knowledge. And so show up and check it out. Become a reciprocator. We've got the regulators here at Two Regular Guys. You got reciprocators over there. And today he's going to discuss why customer interviews are so important to get the best information for digitizing and decorating with concrete examples, and continue his segment on analyzing embroidery samples for technique cues. So you want to head over to Eric Campbell, E-R-I-C-H, Campbell.com, and you click on the Take Up tab at the top, and that'll give you the playlist plus where to check it out live. And so at 2:30 Mountain Time, be sure you're there to learn all about amazing information that Eric gives freely all the time. Eric also has 2 classes at the DAX Chicagoland show, and April 21st, he's got from 8:30 in the morning till noon. He's doing a workshop about digitizing your first design, kind of finding your foundation, giving you the digitizing foundation you need. Even if you don't plan on being a digitizer, understanding this information is so important for an embroiderer, because it allows you to better work with a digitizer. It allows you to better understand why things do what they do when you get it on a machine. Eric is such a master at building those foundational pieces that it doesn't matter what software, it doesn't matter what machine, it doesn't matter any of that part. As long as you have this foundation, you're going to be able to be successful. So make sure you're checking that one out on April 21st there at DAX, if you'll go to daxshow.com for that. And then the next day on the 22nd, about 2:20 in the afternoon, he's going to be teaching design, editing, and alterations. So great stuff from Eric and Terry, and I will be there teaching at DAX as well. 2 weeks away. I can't believe it. Unbelievable. All right. Well, Terry, I think we've done it. We've come to the close of another show. Episode number 445 is in the books. So thanks very much to William Boardman, and we really appreciate him spending some time with us today and bringing all that amazing information from his world into our world. So thank you very much, William. Oh, Terry, you're on mute. I said, blah, 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 taco burrito.
Sorry, there was a dog barking upstairs. We want to thank our show producer, Eric Campbell, for keeping the wheels on the podcast bus going round and round every week.
Nice. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Eric. We appreciate it very much. And next week, Terry, an old friend of ours, Craig Mertens, who's with Graphics Flow, is going to be joining us to talk about garment and product decorating graphics. So always fun to talk to Craig, and you have a history with him. I do as well. All good history. We've known Craig for a very long time. Terry and I worked in a place that was across the street from where he was at. So we had lunch with them at Munchamania.
Munchamania.
Thank you. So looking forward to talking to Craig next week, Terry.
Absolutely. Until then, I'm Terry Combs. He's Aaron Montgomery.
We are the Two Regular Guys.
Here we go. We're out.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to Two Regular Guys. Check out our website at tworegularguys.com. That's the number 2, regularguys.com. You can also interact with us over at our Facebook page, facebook.com/tworegularguys, or send us a tweet, twitter.com/tworegularguys. And we have a YouTube page. You can find all that from our website, tworegularguys.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to spending some time with you again next week.